And welcome to Barbie Dolls of the Week. This week I'm coming to you a little bit frustrated, I have to say. Yesterday I was reading a post on a site called Upworthy on Facebook, which I'm not really familiar with it that much, what that is or anything. But it was about the new collaboration between an African American designer, female designer, and Mattel on, I guess it's a line of dolls. I'm not clear if it's going to be open to the public for purchase or not. I've never seen it said in the articles. I have to assume so, but anyway. So this was not in a doll group or a Barbie group on Facebook. It was just a general post. But some of the comments were just unbelievably uninformed and so like controversial in my mind, because here's the thing: no company is perfect. And believe me, Mattel is not perfect. For many years, they've done things that I didn't like or that I didn't appreciate. One that comes to mind is when they used to go after, believe it or not, local clubs that used Barbie, the name Barbie, in their title. So if you said the Hoosier Barbie Club, they would come after you to stop using that name. So that's just one of the things that I didn't appreciate. But anyway, back to this post. So people were saying some awful things about Mattel, like, oh, it's about time after 80 years that they decided to address this issue or to have, dolls of color. And I about hit the roof because, you know what? I think Mattel's done a pretty good job trying to address all areas of population. Now, they haven't always succeeded. Like the fact that it took forever to get an Asian male doll, that disappointed me. But let's look back in history and let's actually look at reality, because I think what happens is people don't know what the hell they're talking about and they spout off and they say things that are not true. So, like, for instance, some of the things I heard also were, well, my little daughter is mixed race, and I don't remember what exactly the mix was, and I can't find a doll that looks exactly like her skin tone. Well, Mattel cannot make skin tones that match every person in the world or every person in this country. And I think they have over 20 skin tones at this point, and they've done such a good job in recent years, especially in the fashionista line, in addressing all different colors and some different sizes. And yes, they could always do better. A company can always do better. But let me just show you this doll here. Okay, I just picked one doll as an example, fashionista from recent years. I'm not sure exactly what year without looking, but obviously she's a doll of color, and she happens to be a curvy doll, a little bit plus size, and you can kind of tell in this one. I mean, she has the thicker thighs and all that, and a thicker waist. And here's her skin tone. It's a nice color, a very, almost a nice light cocoa color. It's just beautiful. But they've done so many skin tones, so many colors. And also, people would say things like, well, I could never find black dolls or Hispanic dolls when I was growing up. Never. And I grew up in the 80s or whatever time frame. Well, unless you're talking about 1959 to 67, when I don't think there were any dolls of color, and that's unfortunate, but it was a much different time, so the times were what they were, and that doesn't mean it was a good thing, but it just was a fact that it wasn't addressed at that point, to my knowledge. Well, then in 1968, they came out with this doll, which is, to my knowledge, the first African American doll that Mattel made for the Barbie line, which is Talking Christie, and also Twist and Turn Christie in 69. So in 68 and 69, again, here are the pictures. And I'm sure those uninformed people don't know all that Mattel has done. And, then you can talk about the different features of a doll, and do they look really African American or Hispanic or whatever. And that's another story. They could always do better, because especially in the 80s, I did think that a lot of times the black doll just looked like the white doll with dark skin. In other words, the features weren't that different. But when I look at these dolls, they really do look different. I mean, if you look at some of these, look at some of the ones on this page, they really have some different features. So, and I don't know what exact face molds these are. They might, I'm sure they're listed somewhere. But anyway, and even if you look in here, look, there's pages from the 60s and the 70s, or late 60s, 70s, for sure. And then, of course, you get into the 80s, and it's just, a lot of dolls of color. And these are just the African American ones. And then you get into the Beach series from the 80s and even the late 70s, and they have, a lot of times, the Hispanic, Asian, and African American. So that's pretty diverse. And again, they're doing even better now, but then you get into some of these that are the Hispanic ones. So I just wanted to show. So Mattel started that in 60s, 68, 69, and then of course Curtis, to go with Kara, was about the same time frame, I think 69. And then of course in 1980, you had the official Black Barbie. Now, it's unfortunate it took that long, but Kitty Black Perkins, I recently found out, designed this, who is a black designer, or African American designer, and I don't think she's still with Mattel, but this was always a beautiful doll. It's classic. It has a bit of regalness to it, I think. And, when you look at the face, I don't know how much those are African American features, probably not so much. But, they were dealing with limited face molds, I'm assuming. I also do want to show you, by the way, I did recently get the 40th anniversary version of this doll. So here are the two to compare. And originally I wasn't going to get this, but the more I saw it online, the more I liked it. And I got a good deal with my Amazon points, and so I didn't have to pay full price. And I decided to go ahead and get it. And I think she's actually gorgeous. I mean, look at her face. I do think she is more attractive than that original one as far as the face, as far as being authentic. I told a lady at work about this, and I said, to me, this one is more, her face looks like a doll. This one looks more human-like, I think. I think she's much more realistic. So, beautiful doll, and again, shows all that Mattel has done over the years to try to address the issue. And again, you can always do better, and I think they are with the fashionista line. So, for instance, another fashionista, as far as a male, and as far as males, my goodness, they've done so much over the years with them in the recent times. So, for instance, the first ever Asian fashionista, in the play line, other than Samurai Ken from Japan. And of course you've got some with big hair and afros and things, very dark skin, lighter skin tone, and even, the ones who aren't African American have different skin tones. So if you look at this picture alone, you see a lot of skin tones, probably at least 6. So again, I think Mattel is doing a pretty good job. And I would like someone to come up with another company that's doing as well. Now, I also support companies like the Fresh Dolls. In the past, I supported the dolls that Mattel made that were like the Shawnee and Ashanti, I believe, line. So, I love ethnic dolls. If you look above me, I have the row of with a bunch of African American dolls right here. And these are from all different time frames. Here's some of those dolls, by the way, in boxes. So first of all, from 1981 box date. I'm just double checking that. Yep, 81. Of course, Pink and Pretty Christy. And you can do so much with her outfit, with her hair. I absolutely love this doll. She's much prettier, in my opinion, than Pink and Pretty Barbie. But again, this is the kind of thing that people don't know about, and then they criticize blindly. Or like one lady had the nerve, and again, maybe ignorance, but ignorance is not an excuse, saying that, well, they need to represent other cultures, and it's about time they started doing that, meaning Mattel. Well, my comment was, do you know about the Dolls of the World line that started in the 80s? Like very early 80s, I believe, or maybe even late 70s? They represented all kinds of cultures and talk about different skin tones. Now, I will always say that the face molds always screamed regular Barbie, darker skin. So they didn't do a great job on that, but it was a limited face mold back then, is my assumption. So, but still, don't say things didn't happen that you don't know about. That really irks me, and that's not just about dolls, but nowadays I hear people talking about, oh, this is the first time this has ever happened. Even at places I'm familiar with. Well, no, it didn't. It happened 20 years ago, but because you weren't there and you didn't know about it, to you it's the first time it ever happened. But it's not. So you got to know your history. Do a little checking before you make statements like that. Okay, Crystal Barbie is another one from 83, I believe this is. Box date 83. And, of course, again, very glamorous 80s doll. They always did a good job including different colored children to have representation. That's another thing. Representation matters, they keep saying. Of course it matters. Who's arguing that it doesn't matter? But Mattel has done a pretty good job of representing different cultures, different skin tones, and so to call them an evil company like a couple of those ignorant people did, I mean, you can dislike a company for a lot of reasons, but this should not be one of them. Twirly curls, and of course there's Hispanic in some of these as well, like this one, and I think one of the other ones I showed today has a Hispanic version. But Twirly Curls is, of course, a beautiful doll that came in the 3 different ones. Of course, I always wish it had also come in Asian, but it did not. And I see they were good about including, as I said, different children in the advertising or the pictures on the box. And then the last one for today that I want to show you is Peaches and Cream Barbie. And of course, by then they had stopped using the Christie for the African American dolls. So all these, except the first one in 81, were Barbie. She was Christie. Now, I personally like dolls having their own identity, not just being all Barbie. But I understand what they were doing, and I think it was good on their part to do that. So another beautiful doll, original in the box, by the way, all of these. And she is box date 84. So we've got an 81, an 83, and an 84. And let me see what this one was. We might have the first 4 years of the 80s covered. Yeah, 82. So we had an 81, an 82, 83, and 84. I didn't do that on purpose. So, just happened. Of course, it showed you some of the things you could do with this wonderful dress that I've always liked. It's really pretty color on her skin tone, by the way. And that's the thing, I always did prefer it. Now, one other thing that the people talked about that I'd like to address, and that is the ability. Okay, well, maybe they had them, but I could never find, meaning not me, but people are saying, I could never find them in the stores I went to. Well, here's the thing. I worked in retail for over 13 years, Target and Sears at different times. They had a little bit of crossover, though. And stores stock what's going to sell in their area. So those of us who are doll people, we kind of know this maybe. I know I do, that if I go to a store that sells dolls in southern Indiana or south of Indianapolis, I may find mostly white dolls, especially in the past. Now they're better about it, but that was a mostly white area, so if it's a mostly white area, in the past, the African American dolls may not sell so well, so they don't stock them as much. Where I lived, it was always a very diverse area. I live here in Pike Township, and it's always been very diverse. So I went to Children's Palace in the past, Toys R Us, KB, or any of those other stores that sold dolls, which in the past was a lot. Well, I could find them. I could find a whole mix of dolls. I never had a problem. I bought all these dolls back then. Maybe not these exact ones, I don't mean, but I bought them all. And if I wanted a black one, I had no problem finding it. So I know I was lucky. Not everyone had that ability, and especially in other countries. But, again, don't say it didn't happen just because you don't know about it. That's crazy. That's like denying something happened just because you don't know. Like if somebody said, Oh, well, I don't know that the first man on the moon ever happened. I think it could be a hoax because I wasn't there to see it and I didn't go. Well, that's just stupid. At some point it gets to be stupid when people deny the existence of things that actually happened, but because you weren't literally there, you deny it. Now, there's not a lot of people that ignorant, but there are some. And that post proved it. Again, all I'm asking is people do your homework. Don't make, terrible statements about a company that has worked really hard for years to be inclusive. And again, can always do better, but they're doing pretty good. With that, I thank you for watching and for listening to my rant today. And I'm always going to defend on this point, guys, because I was there. I lived it. And even if they hadn't have sold the dolls of color in my area, I would have gone to find them, and I would have known they existed. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.